my name is Joe Jackson. I'm a journalist, author, interviewer, and broadcaster. And actually, it all began for me on March the 1st, 1985, when, after a 1 hour chat with Leonard Cohen, I felt so transcendent I decided that I must go out in search of more of my music heroes to talk with. Although I hasten to add that the roughly 1,400 public figures I then went on to interview were not all my music heroes. And in one case, someone whose music I'd loved since I was a child and heard his single Hold Me, PJ Proby, turned out to be perhaps the one hero it might have been best had I never met. We talked for nearly 3 hours one day in 1987, and I have uploaded as podcast fragments of that chat, but much of it is not fit for public consumption, such as, arguably, his racist and homophobic comment at the end of this podcast. But before PJ gets to that, he tells us a funny and insightful story about what it would have been like to be invited for drinks and dinner with his friends at the time, John and Cynthia Lennon. It certainly will be hard to get out of your mind the image of John circa 1964-65 doing a private performance at home of the old movie Phantom of the Opera. By the way, if you want to read the PJ Proby interviews published or are interested in the tapes for personal or professional use, say in a documentary, contact me via joejacksoninterviewer.com.
So, did you get on with? You got on with the Beatles instead of Lennon? Something like
got on with John. Great. I spent every single weekend at John's house.
Yeah.
And took care of the kids and Cynthia when he was away because he was out all the time. And John and I were fairly near the same age, and mentally totally on the same level. The one was that the other one I got on with, it was Ringo. I think Ringo's older than I am.
Yeah.
I'm 48. I think Ringo's about 50 now.
Yeah.
Because he was in a jazz group before he was with the Beatles. And Ringo I could talk about anything with, from Louis Bellston, of who John Lennon had never heard of.
Yeah.
Because John was total rock.
Sure.
To Lenny Bruce, to all the people that ask any other Beatles about these people, they wouldn't know what the fuck you talking about. Is that kin to Gene Vincent or something? No, you're way out of state, baby. Way out of state. Get another syringe.
Was this that time? This was more when it was drinking. This was pre-drugs, was it?
Well, see, Ringo drank, but not excessively.
Lennon drank.
Paul didn't drink at all. George didn't drink at all. And so that ended our relationship real fast. But John and I, he'd send his chauffeur in his Maserati and everything over to pick me up. And I'd always pick up about 5 or 6 fists of whiskey. And we carried on like that for about a year and a half. And then one night, picked me up as usual. And I put the whiskey on the table and said, right. And Cynthia already had the meals made and everything. She cooked John liked American food. T-bone steaks and corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Broccoli with hollandaise sauce and everything. And then after that, we'd go up and he had a thing as big as this room, maybe a little bit bigger. Great big plywood board with racing things and about 50 to 75 little racing cars with these things that you fly an airplane, a model airplane in the sky. Yeah. And you race these things. You have crashes and everything. Oh, he loved all that.
Sophisticated artist.
Yeah. And then he had the room, which actually, it was an old mansion. And it was a room where they wrote all their music, was a toilet, a bathroom. And it was, the bathroom alone, it was the size of this living room.
Yeah.
And in one corner was the giant Elizabethan tubs, and then the toilet, and then a big table for writing, and he collected, what do you call those, gramophones or something? They had the big bell up.
Oh yeah, the wind-up gramophones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He collected those. He had about 12 of those. One was made out of python skin. It was a giant thing.
Yeah.
And in the bathtub, it was filled full of dirt and these plants. And they were man-eating. John loved to throw flies at them. and June bugs and things. Even beetles he threw in there. And they'd go, just snap them out of the sky. Fucking shit. I said, he said, just, he said, and don't sit on the toilet either. That's where the really big ones are. Because I was about to sit on the toilet and play the guitar. And I looked down the toilet and here's these things coming up out of the toilet like that. You know, these fucking tropical plants that bite your nuts off or something. And
So this was
his thing of humor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In fact, he did the Phantom of the Opera. See, it was Cynthia's job to keep me downstairs, or anybody there downstairs, after dinner until John went up and got ready for the house to be shown. And it was beautiful. It wasn't all that much furniture downstairs or anything, but you could see what it could be if he was a money-spending guy. And so she said, would you like to see the other floors? It's a 3-story house. And I said, yeah. So you walk up these stairs, all dark. And at the top of the first stairs, it was a long thing of curtains, kind of indented like that thing over there. And they're all drawn. And then as you get to the top of the stairs, now the bedrooms are over to the curtains come open, and one note is hit on this giant pipe organ, and it fills the whole house, and your ears are ringing, and John turns around with all this black under his eyes, and toothpicks up his nose like that. These rotten teeth he's bought in a goof shop or something, and he's got a cloak on, the Phantom of the Opera. And of course, after that many drinks, you really grab hold of the banister to keep from falling downstairs and breaking your neck.
So was this before the drugs culture?
Oh yeah.
It was drinks culture.
And then after that, your heart is going. Then he just laughs and then shows you the rest of the house. And his part of the house was totally matte black. All the walls, the hall, the floor, everything. Like when you go in the spook house at Billy Smart's circus or something.
Yeah.
All matte black. And that was the floor that Cynthia was not allowed on. That was his floor to do what he wanted to with. The hall, the place where he did his little cars and everything, racing cars, that was all matte yellow. And then where they wrote most of the Beatles songs, where I almost got my ass bit off by the fucking snapping flowers. That was where him and Paul used to write all the music. And he could play every single instrument there was in the world. He played steel guitar. He played lead guitar, like a lot of people don't know. He played every cello, every string instrument there was, every flugelhorn, tuba, trumpet. Played them all, and that's him playing them on almost all their records. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So this whole image of swinging, the Beatles and you and swinging and all that stuff, you're just playing games with cars and all that in the background. I mean, was there not? When did things start turning sour?
When the drugs thing came out, like what we used to do is for fun, we'd go over to Brian Jones' house and break in. He'd be out with his girlfriend or something. We'd break in, and we planned all this. Go to Brian's house, and we planned to wear our stinkiest, worst clothes. You know, we hadn't taken a bath in for ages, and it was just really, yeah. And we go over there in those clothes. And Brian was only a little guy. All of us were much bigger than him. And we'd go in and go up and raid his closet and put on all his clothes and his pants, like the legs came up there on, and left all of our clothes on his bed for him to take to the laundry. And that was one of our nights, the Brian Jones night. And
but when the drugs came into it then, via Jones and the Stones?
Well, drugs was already in it for the Stones, but it wasn't for the Beatles.
Yeah.
But the last night I brought those 4, 5, 6 things of bourbon to John's house, and he walked in the living room. I said, "Hey, baby, let's go." And he said, "I don't drink anymore." I said, "What?" I said, "I don't drink. I smoke shit." I said, "You smoke shit?" "Mm-hmm. You mean you're ahead now. You're marijuana and hash. Yeah, that's what I do now. And he rolled a joint and everything. And I said, well, I guess that just means one thing. It means there's more for me.
So did you not partake?
No.
You were not interested. You were happy with the booze.
Well, actually, that was one of the last times I ever saw John, because when I went back from then on, they talked about things that went over my head. I didn't know what they were talking about.
This was all drugs culture talk.
Yeah, drug talk.
Yeah.
Talking about surrealistic and things they saw on LSD trips and all that kind of stuff. I didn't. That was I didn't understand that kind of talk.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Well, it could be said that this is where rock started getting boring.
Well, it did for me.
Yeah.
That's when I really started drinking in my living room alone.
Yeah.
And
why? Because you felt alienated or just bored or fed up with the way things were
I
going?
was bored with anybody who's not physical. I'm bored with. You know.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to sit around and talk about cultural things and things I already learned in school, and I've already graduated with all that shit in my head. And doesn't want to go out and raise hell and beat fuck out of niggers and roll queers. They're no fun to me.
Is that what you do for pastime?
That's what I did when I was younger.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I know, perhaps I should have trimmed out that quote, but I may follow on with similar comments which are similarly racist and homophobic from PJ Proby. Either way, thanks for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast, and don't forget, if you want to read any of my articles or contact me via tapes of this conversation with PJ, do so via joejacksoninterviewer.com.